Start. Uh, Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to the webinar. My name is Abhilash, and I represent Chalmers University of Technology with International Communications. So I'm an International Communications Officer, and today's webinar is about the application process, about studying at Chalmers, so on and so forth. To my help, I have three of my colleagues, Andres, Jens, and Linda, and I also have a few students today. Some of them are from India, and some of them are from Pakistan. Right, so we're going to have a discussion with them at the later part of this presentation. So what is the agenda for today? The agenda for today is a 40-minute session with the first 5 minutes dedicated to the rules of the webinar. Then the next 10 minutes will be for a presentation about Chalmers and an application about the applications and admissions process. And the third one is about where the next 25 minutes will be spent on a discussion with our students regarding the questions that you might have. Now, please remember that the questions that you raise would have to be relevant. So we will pick the relevant questions out of the Q&A pod. So we will open up a Q&A pod, just like the chat pod that you have on the side. We will open up a Q&A pod, and inside there, when you ask questions, we will raise that within the discussion that we are conducting. So you might not receive a straight question and answer. Rather, you will receive an answer through the discussion that we have. So please hold on to your question. Don't get so excited that if your answer doesn't come up immediately, you have to repeat your question. All right? I would like to bring to your notice today that this is a session that is jointly conducted for both India and Pakistan. And some of this information is very common for both of you, and that is why we have decided to keep these two together. Whereas some information might be different. So we will point those differences out when and where necessary. To start with, let's move on to the presentation of the rules of the webinar. The first rule is you do not need to activate your microphone. Second one is you do not need to activate your camera. This is not a video conference. Third, you only use the chat option when the host requires to use it. I am the host here, and when I require you to use it, please do so. Finally, all the questions will be answered in the 25-minute Q&A. So hold on to your questions until the end of the presentations. But when we say all the questions, what we mean is that we will pick out the relevant questions. Some of your questions might not be relevant for this point in time, and therefore they will not be answered. Now, 25 minutes, while it might be a long time, it might also be a short time, and so some of your questions might not be answered. In such a case, please point your questions to nextstop@chalmers.se. Now, before I close the chat option, I would like to ask you, can you hear me? Please answer on the chat option. Can you hear me? Excellent. So there is no problem with clarity. We will now shut the chat option down. I am sorry that it will disappear as you write your answer. Goodbye. There you go. The chat option is gone. Now, I will start with the presentation of the university. Chalmers University of Technology, if you did not already know, was started by William Chalmers in 1829. This was, of course, after he died. But he started the university, and in its 200-year history, approximately 200-year history, we have changed in many ways. Today, we have 40 master's programs. Of these 40 master's programs, all 40 are taught in English, and all of them are 2-year full-time programs. What do we mean by full-time programs? These programs are taught in class, and you are expected to put in, let's say, 8 hours of work a day. It's like having a job, so to speak. So you're working with your studies from 9 to 5, so to speak. So that's 8 hours, which means it's 40 hours a week. That's effectively what we mean by full-time studies. When you get admitted to Chalmers, you become one of the 10,000 Chalmerists at Chalmers. You also become one of the 2,600 master students at Chalmers and part of the 900 international students at Chalmers that are basically representing about 90 plus nationalities at the university. You will also at some point in time during your studies come in contact with some of these 3,000 staff members approximately that make up the university. This includes people like me, people that are professors, lecturers, and also administrative and doctoral students, right? Moving on, we have our application and admission. Sorry, where is the university located? I ran one slide ahead. So the university is located in Gothenburg, which is on the west coast, aka also known as the best coast of Sweden. We don't really like the east coast so much. The point here is that we are on the west coast. Gothenburg is the second largest city, and we have two campuses in Gothenburg. First campus is called Campus Juhaniberg. Second campus is called Campus Lindholmen. The only difference between these two campuses is that they are located in two different places and that they host different programs. However, both of them are connected by a 16-minute bus ride by bus number 16 and also by an electric bus number 55. Electric bus number 55 is the result of something called the triple helix. The triple helix is when you've got three entities: industry, education, and government working together to create a synergetic, sustainable solution, right? So they create synergy, and through the synergy, they create a sustainable solution. What was the problem in this case? Transport congestion on the roads. What is the solution? Public transport. How do you make it sustainable? Electric. So you've got education, Chalmers, industry, Volvo, and government, the public transport company, all three working together and produced the electric bus number 55. What's the most interesting thing, other than it being sustainable, is that you actually have USB ports inside the bus to charge your phones and also Wi-Fi on board. Housing, student housing is all over the city of Gothenburg, and therefore you will not be staying. There's nothing called on-campus housing. Rather, it is student housing all over the city. And since the public transport is actually almost perfect, you can get from point A to point B without any problem, go to any meeting without missing the time that you were supposed to be there, right? Now, on to the application and admission timeline. This is what I had skipped to. I'm sorry for having done that. The first 2 points are marked in red because they have already passed. The first one is the window, the application window for both master's programs and scholarships. You should have done both of these things before the 16th of January. Once that has been, now that that has been passed, we have the next deadline in front of us, the 1st of February. This is the deadline for documentation and also for the payment of the application fee. The documentation deadline is the deadline where you basically either upload your documentation or you send it by regular post. Depending on your situation, you will have to choose one or the other, and the application fee is paid to university admissions. Both of them have to be done by the 1st of February. The next deadline at hand is the 24th of March. It's not so much as a deadline as it is a date on which you get to know whether you got admitted or not. So there are 3 states that you could fall into. The first state you could fall into is admitted, obviously. But it doesn't come as admitted, it comes usually as conditionally admitted, right? The next state that you can fall into is waitlisted. So you're not admitted, but you're waitlisted. You're on a reserve list. The third situation could be that you are declined or denied admission. Now, if you're in the first state, that is, you've been conditionally admitted or admitted, you will receive a question. Do you accept or do you decline your admission? If you say you accept, you move on to the next stages, like, for example, paying the fees, applying for visa, so on and so forth, and arriving at the university. If you're on the reserve list, then what happens is that those people that said no, so the people that got admitted can say either yes or no. If they say no, the people that are on the reserve list will get those seats, right? So depending on your position on the reserve list, you will be given a seat. Then you got the ones that got declined, and there is nothing we can do about those. So when do the waitlisted people get to know whether they got admitted or not? They get to know it on the second round of results, which is on the 21st of April. After this, you've got the next deadline. This is an actual deadline, and that is the 23rd of May. This is the deadline for paying fees. Now, if you do not have a scholarship, you will have to pay all of the fees. If you have a scholarship, you might have to pay some of the fees. One way or another, you will receive an invoice that you need to pay a certain amount for. And you pay that amount, and then you're done, right? Then you've got end of August, where you actually arrive at the university and take part in the orientation activities and start studying at the university. There's more information about these and many other dates on www.chalmers.se/keydates. That's the address that you see at the bottom of the slide. On the next slide, we are talking about the checklist for the documentation. There are many documents that you need to submit. You might see that there are 13 documents that you need to submit. All said and done, these can be categorized into 3 groups. The first group is the general and mandatory documentation. These documents are ones that everybody need to submit. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you're applying to, it doesn't matter. You have to submit your diplomas, you have to submit your transcripts, you have to submit your proof of English, your passports, so on and so forth, right? Specific documentation is documentation that is specific to certain groups of students. So for example, if you're a student applying to architecture, you might have to submit a portfolio. Or maybe you're applying to automotive engineering and you need to prove that you have control theory, which means that you will have to submit proof of that, of satisfying that requirement. Finally, let's assume that you made an application for a scholarship before the 16th of January. Then there are a set of documents that play an important role, such as the CV, the motivation letter, work certificates, and letters of recommendation. Now, please note that these documents, while they are very important when it comes to scholarships, it doesn't mean that they don't play a role when it comes to admissions. It just means that they are important in general as well. Moving on, we've got some information about specific stuff. Let's move to the next slide. Here, both India and Pakistan, you do not need to submit any English documentation, especially if your transcripts state clearly that your medium of instruction is English. In this case, you do not need to submit IELTS, you do not need to submit TOEFL. One other important aspect to think of is whether your university is listed on the WHED list. The WHED list is a World Higher Education list, which basically states whether a university has all of its education in English or not. So unless the list actually states that your university has all of its education in English, you might have to still submit an English documentation. So pay attention to the list and also to your transcripts. Next we've got the cover sheet. The cover sheet is something that you need to submit only if you submit a paper application, as in a regular post application. In such cases, then you will have to submit a cover sheet. Otherwise, you do not need to submit the cover sheet, especially if you're making an online application. Then, the third point is that all documents must be submitted in their original language. Now, in most of your cases, those documents will be in English. But if that original language happens to be any language other than English, you will have to submit an official translation in English. There's more information about this on bit.ly/Chalmers documents, and you can also download if you need to. The checklist can be found on bit.ly/Chalmers checklist. On the next slide, we are talking about the student ambassadors. Chalmers student ambassadors, as you can see, the hashtag is something you can use on any social media, and you should be able to find posts made by our student ambassadors, and they come from very different countries, very different backgrounds, they study different things. They are all current students at Chalmers, and they all share one passion, so to speak, and that is to tell the world how they feel about studying at the university, about their life in Sweden, about their life in Gothenburg, what are the good things that are happening to them, so on and so forth. They discuss a lot of things, right? So these are just 6 of the 20-something student ambassadors that we have. And I would like to point out here that this is something that you too can do. You too can be a student ambassador. We want you also to come here and have the same great experiences that our student ambassadors have. We want you also to come here and become the ambassadors that tell the world that you have a good time and your education has been great. So, without further ado, I'm going to invite our students that are here today, Indians and Pakistanis, to sit down and have a discussion with me and also answer your questions to as much of an extent as we can. What I would like to note right now is that we would want you to raise your questions and that you keep them as relevant to this time period as possible. Welcome, you guys. Come on, let's sit down. I'm going to move out of the camera, but I will be here on the side, just so you know. I'm not running away. I'm going to be moderating the discussion. Please sit down. I'm over here, just in case you're wondering. Gaurav Ghoshal, the deadline for applying for scholarships has passed. It was the Monday of this week. It was on the 16th of January was the deadline, and you missed the deadline, so you cannot apply for a scholarship now. I'm very sorry to say that. That said, you can get a scholarship for the second year over here. So let's say you make an application You get admitted, you come to Chalmers, and your first year you run without a scholarship. The second year you can apply for a scholarship and get it. So that's one option for you, just so you think about it. Is everybody visible? It seems like we managed to somehow cut some people out. Or can you move a little that way? Stop. Yeah, you move a little that way, just a little. Okay, they're all stuck together. Never mind. We'll just keep it this way. All right. It's cool. I would like to start by asking you to introduce yourselves by saying your name, where you are from, if it is in India, where in India, which university you studied at in India, what you study here. These 4 details I want out of you. We can start with you.
I'm
Loudly
Vigneshwaran.
and clearly and towards the camera.
I'm Vigneshwaran. I'm from Coimbatore, from Tamil Nadu, and I studied in the Kumaraguru College of Technology in Coimbatore. And now I'm studying on the Sustainable Energy Systems of Master's Program.
I am Abhishek. I come from Bangalore. I am from Dayananda Sagar College of Engineering. It is affiliated to Vishveshwaraya Technological University. I am doing my master's program in automotive engineering.
Hi, I am Hafiz Faizan Javed. I am from Lahore, Pakistan, and I have my bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from University of Engineering and Technology, Lahore, and I am studying international project management here in Chalmers.
And hi, I'm Keertana. I'm from Bangalore in India as well, and I studied in Meenakshi, and which is affiliated with VTU. And here I study quality and operations management.
Hello guys, I'm Akshay. I'm from India, Mumbai. I'm currently in my second year of my master's in wireless photonics and space engineering. It's the last semester, so I'm doing my thesis at my department.
Cool. Excellent. So we've got a nice blend here. We've got some second year students, some first year students, somebody from Pakistan, somebody from India, and north, south, everywhere, right? So we've got a nice mix over here. So that's a good thing. Before I go on and continue with your discussion here, I'd like to pick up this question by Samir Ali Khan asking, does the university consider GRE scores for admissions? No, we do not. Chalmers has in no place on the Chalmers website ever stated anything about the about the GRE score. We do not talk about, we'll not really assess GRE scores. What we want is your transcripts, of course. And what are the criteria of selection? Well, that depends extremely on the program you're applying to. It is not a question that can be easily answered. Unfortunately, you will have to literally go to the web page of the program you're interested in to check what is there. I would like to point out here that this webinar is focused towards those students who have applied to Chalmers, made an application to Chalmers. So that is why the questions are going to be extremely oriented to just applicants and not in general as to what are the application criteria or what is when is the timeline and so on and so forth. That is not of relevance over here. Sharjeel asks, can you repeat the name of the list mentioning universities teaching in English? It is WHED, as in will.
Water?
No, what is the naval code for W? I don't know. Anyway, water. Yeah, water, Henry, Echo, and David, right? WHED. There you go. It's on the notes. You can see it. Varen Rustomji asks, Rustomji asks, hello, thank you for this initiative. I wanted to know if it is safe bet to just submit the entire bachelor degree syllabus in case of any universities require them. No, please submit only the relevant syllabi. For courses that you really need to show satisfactory course experience. So if you submit everything, that's only going to make things more difficult for you and for everybody else. So please only submit the documentation that is required. All right. Now I'm going to skip the questions and I'm going to come here to you guys and ask you the $1 million question, as in, why did you choose Chalmers? Are you all scholarship students? You're a scholarship student. You're not a scholarship student. So can you throw scholarship students hands up? So you got 2 scholarship students and 3 non-scholarship students. How do you motivate? Why did you choose Chalmers? You can use scholarship as a reason. So if scholarship was not a reason, why would you have chosen Chalmers?
Okay, I was actually looking for a particular course which would combine space technology and photonics and other stuff, but then I was looking for universities in different places, but Chalmers was the only university which provided a combination of these three subjects together, and later I could actually choose what I want to master it.
Interesting. Okay, so it's a unique program is your reason. What about you?
Me, I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and then I was working in IT. And so
I mean, it's
Yeah, it's
right?
India,
It's
so-
India. That's what everybody does.
And so there I was introduced to a few management related courses and things. So then I realized that I wanted to do this course, and I was looking for universities that offer this course. And I saw Chalmers had a very good balance of all the subjects to offer and everything. And I was lucky that a few of my friends were studying in Chalmers, and they told me about how it was to study here and everything. And then I applied, and luckily I got the scholarship. So,
Okay, what scholarship do you have?
I have the advances.
The Avancé scholarship. All right. Before I get to you, Faizan, just a moment. We have a question by Steve Anthony J. Is there a possibility to know the result of admission prior to the defined date? I have to say this. It's Sweden is a rather equal country, right? It's a very egalitarian society. It tries to keep everybody at the same level, and that's why it's a gated process. You do not get to know anything in advance. You do not get to do anything in advance. All your applications are, they are. How do you say that? They are processed only after the deadline. Thank you. They are processed only after the deadline. You get to know only on a certain date. However, like in any system, there is going to be a couple of exceptions. So a handful of extremely academically excellent applicants. Now that's a number of adjectives that you cannot put together easily, right? And extremely academically excellent applicants will get an early admission offer. But that is very, very few. It's not like it's, none of you got you got it early. See that? So they were exceptionally academically excellent, right? So there you go. But it's not the norm. So I don't want you to get your hopes up by saying, I will get to know before the 24th of March. No. Most of you, 99% of you, will get to know only after the 24th of March or on the 24th of March, right? But not before. That's your answer, Steve. Dilip Kumar Jyoti asks, do people who are applying early get an advantage? Like say someone, like just as I mentioned now, it doesn't matter whether you apply early. It doesn't matter whether you apply before the deadline or a month before the deadline. What matters is that you apply before the actual date, as in before the 16th of January. Because any application that comes after the 16th of January is considered a late application, right? Mohammad Wasim asks, how is life as an Indian in Gothenburg? Say accommodation costs, transportation costs, and if you could also talk about the job prospects. So basically that's a very wide question. We will get to that. Mohammed, we will get to that in a moment. Let's talk with Faizan about why did you choose Chalmers then?
Yeah, because my inclination, first of all, I had the experience of project management. So my inclination was towards the project management. I chose Sweden because it has so many nationalities right now, a different culture. I think so in my class of 36 people, I think so there are 18 nationalities.
You mean your program?
Yeah, in my program. So I have we have round about 18 nationalities. That makes it really an international program.
Yeah.
So that was a big motivation for me as well to study abroad, to have a different aspect of different people. Yeah.
So that's why, okay, you chose Chalmers for its international environment. You chose it because of the fact that you already knew people here. Ish. What about you?
For me, it was more of education that is integrated with the industry. You have hands-on experience. As soon as I finished my bachelor's, I had a job to do. I had a pretty good job in research in the automotive industry. But then this was a better motivation for me to skip there and come here for me to learn more.
Right.
All my professors are either experienced in research, development, or are really good in teaching, that they've been here for like more than 20 years. So it's more of industry orientation that I like.
Right. Okay.
So more invited.
Right. And before we get to you, I'd like to, or maybe we can just get your answer as well. Can we do one thing? Just a moment. Can we do one thing? Can we just put down a few of those points somewhere on the notes so that we can take them up? Because this is a whole other set of questions as well. Like job fair is one thing. We need to talk about what was the other question?
Life in Gothenburg.
Life in Gothenburg, cost of living. So jobs, cost of living, right? Okay. Yeah, please continue. Tell me.
As my program states, it's sustainable energy, and Sweden is the first country which moves faster in sustainable energy, and it's I think 65% of the Swedish renewable energy comes from sustainable. So I'm sure the taking a course which is more important in the future generation, and the two in a country which gives more important for sustainability, I think this is the right place. And people do ask why I took Chalmers instead of KTH. But but as stated, that KTH is more relevant for research, and Chalmers is a place which have more MOUs and better understanding with companies. So it's like easily I can get into the companies of which I like.
Sweet. So we've got an industry angle. We've got some people that we know. We've got research and like a unique program. We've got lots of different reasons, but they all do tie together. They all do come together. How do you put that in context with that question he was asking, as in job prospects? Did you know that QS ranks Chalmers as number 40 in the world for employability? Right. So what were your expectations when you were going to apply? You know, last year you were making applications. The three of you were making an application last year. You guys were making it 2 years ago. What were you thinking you would get, and did you get it here?
I think it is a very common notion to know what are the job prospects when you are sitting there and applying.
Yeah.
But once you come into the university, you will know the better you are, you have a better chance. There is no guarantee for no job. I was there asking the same question, sitting there. I was multiple times. What are the job options? What are the job options? It is not guaranteed anywhere.
Yeah.
So you come here, if you excel, you definitely have a job.
But you have better prospects in Sweden. There are a lot of job opportunities. You can apply. You can see in the portal like there are jobs coming. But it depends on you, how much capable you are to get that job.
It depends on how you perform and how you show yourself, like how you network.
Yeah.
Because I think so. Networking is the most important thing in Sweden. You come here from day one. You start networking with the professors. You start networking with your friends and teachers. You will reach somewhere, and job is almost guaranteed.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to point out that I myself from India. I came here in 2009 to do my masters. I haven't died yet, and I have a job. Right? I haven't died yet, and I have a job. So basically, if I managed to do it, anybody else can also manage to do it. And like you say, I very strongly agree with you. It's very much about how you do it. How badly do you want it? Right? What are you planning to do?
But you know, the nicest thing here is most of your courses and most of the activities that happen here, you are involved with companies. Like you have a lot of guest lectures from companies, and you visit companies, and a lot of projects. Like I have 2 projects where I'm working with 2 different companies right now as a part of my course. So you are given a lot of opportunities to actually do this networking, and they don't just say networking is important and do it. They give you a lot of opportunities to actually do it, and then
Right. You are given the toolbox.
Exactly.
You're given the set of tools. It's up to you to use it.
That's the best part. Like in India, during my bachelor's, I was not allowed to touch most of the instruments. They're like, no, that will break. But here, the other day, I was doing my internship with my professor, and he's like, he just gave me a $1,000 laser, and he's like, work with it and optimize it. I was like, if this falls down, then I'm dead. He's like, no, it's fine. We'll buy a new one.
Yeah,
that's how cool he is.
But that is a really interesting aspect, and this has come up in other webinars today. Today has been a series of webinars, and a few other students have espoused similar ideas that they have access to technology and to labs that normally you wouldn't have access to. And that is an interesting thing.
To add to that, half my professors are from the industry, from the company. So
they
already once you start involving with them, they know you. So that is more important.
Right, like I actually mentioned in the previous webinar, I usually like to say a known devil is better than an unknown angel. And I'm not calling any of you devils, but the fact of the matter is that they know you, and if they know you, then they could hire you. They would rather hire you than somebody that they don't know. Right. Now, so jobs are difficult anywhere in the world. That was one statement. Another statement is it's up to you to work to find what you want to find. You would have
it doesn't matter that coming here you should find a job somewhere else, or whether you can start up with your new company. Chalmers have an abundant opportunities to you guys to start a new company. I think they give you something around the 10,000 crowns for startup. If I
Something of that sort. Yeah. There's
I'm
the
not sure
challenge,
about
startup challenge you're talking about. Yes. So yeah, exactly. So there's also the entrepreneurial aspect of things. You can start your own company, but most importantly, I think one of the things that I don't know whether you agree with me, but one of the things that I hear a lot: can I find a job in Sweden? Why only Sweden? Why not Europe?
Yeah, exactly.
Why not the rest of the world?
You get to travel.
You get to travel. It's all one union, right? So you can go around. You can travel around. You might find a job in Germany. You might find a job in Switzerland or in Luxembourg, or God knows, maybe Liechtenstein.
But you can even get a thesis.
Yeah, you can get a
somewhere
thesis somewhere else,
Yeah.
and maybe get employed at the university as a research assistant and then become a professor there. Like there are lots of opportunities, right? It's only up to us. The limitations are the ones that we put on ourselves. Excellent. Now there was one question that came up. Do we know? George asks, do we know about the scholarship decisions along with the admissions decisions? Actually, scholarship decisions come out a little before the 24th of March. So you will get to know whether you got a scholarship a little before the 24th. But this is basically for the Chalmers scholarships. So the scholarships that Chalmers administers, but not for the scholarships that are by the Swedish Institute. That's a whole other can of worms, so to speak. This is only for the Chalmers University scholarships, right? Very often we will also get the question, does that mean that if I get a scholarship, I will also be admitted? Well, I can't really answer that question because, well, maybe not. I mean, the scholarship is administered by the admissions unit, but the admissions question is not handled by the same people as the ones that handle the scholarships, right?
But usually they give you the admission as well.
Yeah, usually. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I don't want to make the statement that you will get admitted, right? Usually is different from you will. Yeah, and if you've not submitted the right documentation, so there's a question by Devvrat going, hi, when do we get to know if the documents are in order? So the answer is, if you have not submitted the right documents, you will be notified by university admissions. So you must keep an eye on the university admissions profile that you have.
in the message box.
Yeah, on the message box on your university admissions profile. Do not expect it to arrive in your Gmail or your Hotmail or whatever other mail account that you've got. It's not going to come there. It is going to show up on your messages, which is on your university admissions profile. But if you submit new ones, your application becomes late. So let's say that you submit your documentation after the deadline, right? Then your application becomes late. So whatever happens, keep an eye on the profile, keep an eye on the messages, and if the message says submit something, submit it before the deadline, right? Next, we had also questions about life in Gothenburg. So coming back from the fact that, okay, we find jobs and blah, 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 or maybe we don't find jobs, or we want to try and find jobs. There are many aspects of job, right? But let's come to, you guys are all living here. Do you speak Swedish every day? Do you speak Swedish in class?
No.
A little bit?
You know, the thing is, my class has 90% of the class are Swedes.
Okay.
So I speak not because I have to, because I sort of want to.
Okay.
It's they speak in English when there are class work and when there's coursework, but
But for your self-development, you speak Swedish.
Exactly.
All right.
So
You can get away
I was
without
under the
knowing
impression
that.
that suddenly,
you can get away without
She
speaking
was the
Swedish,
first one
but
who spoke Swedish in their class. Right?
But then
But
it
it's
is
nice.
it is nice to speak in
Exactly,
Swedish, and you're in a different place. It is nice to speak in Swedish, but it's not
it's
mandatory.
not
You can
No.
needed.
Everybody
definitely get
speaks
away.
English.
Everyone speaks
Everybody.
Everyone
English.
speaks English.
Oh, here's
So-
the fun part, but actually, you can actually speak different languages to different students. Like Spanish friends try speaking Spanish.
You mean like that, because you're in the English
Yeah,
classroom
exactly.
environment. Right. So that's how your classroom is, right?
Yeah.
So that's how language works for you. But do you think language is important anywhere else? Like when it comes to working or something like that? Do you think that's important?
No. In my department, especially, everyone speaks English.
You're right.
Even during FICA, if they know that there is an international student present, they speak English.
Right.
I go to a store. Greeting is hey, but everything else is in English,
English.
so it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right. So yeah. So you don't need Swedish to live in Sweden. That's
Not
the
at all.
point, right? Good. Next question that I have is the cost of living. Now we've got 2 scholarship students and 3 non-scholarship students. I think I'll start with the non-scholarship students. How do you handle your finances? How do you pay the tuition fee?
The thing is, you need to be really smart about your expenses.
Okay,
because
we just lost our balance. Can you help
No, I
fix that? You just need to lift it and stick it.
You can go on.
Yeah, just continue.
So yeah, the main thing about the cost of living is, I think so, you need to be really smart and efficient at the way you spend. Like, if you want to go, instead of buying a food from outside, try and learn to cook good dishes, and you save plenty of money. So it's all about you using your money efficiently, rather than going for how expensive or how cheap the country is.
Do you guys have bank loans?
I am on a bank loan.
You're on a bank loan.
It's more like exactly what he told. Use it effectively. It is.
Yeah.
Really,
So you don't party every weekend.
No.
No, yeah, but
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Party smartly. Yeah, exactly. Party smartly. Right? Get somebody else to buy you your drinks.
Yeah.
It's all.
If you're very good friends, you actually do that. They
Oh,
actually
yes,
do
yes,
that.
yeah.
That's how my first year
There
went.
you go. Right. So that's really good to know that you can actually you can steer the amount of expenses you have. It's coming down again. I can hear it, but
yeah.
I don't know why that's doing that. Can you stick it or like? Yeah, exactly. You don't do it like this.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Downwards.
Downwards is not necessary.
Downloads is not that.
No. Yeah. Okay, good. Excellent. We've got 4 minutes left, right? And we've got two things that we need to talk about. Cost of living was one thing, and we've already, established that it's a matter of self-control, so to
Yeah,
speak.
exactly.
It's a matter of being smart. It's a matter of budgeting, right? But what about work during studies? I have two parts to this question. One, do you recommend working while studying? And the other question is, do you really have time to work?
There is absolutely no
No,
time.
there is
But
absolutely no time in any of the courses.
But for sorry. But for my course, I think so. I have plenty of time to work. But I don't work. I am more included in other activities. Like in the CERC, I was being a part of event manager, and I was doing a lot of work in there. But yes, you have time sometime in a few days of the week that you can work. But it depends on you. If you want to, if it is your preference, or you want your self-development. So it's a different balance.
Right.
for me, in my course, I really have no time. I am always involved with assignments or in discussions with my professor. So I cannot really find time. Apart from my regular education, I have so many other activities to be involved in the university itself. So
Right.
you really don't have a motive to go and work somewhere else.
No.
You can definitely work if you really want to, but then there are you've come here to study. You might as well study, engage in all the activities,
Exactly.
and
That
then
is-
get a scholarship next year, and then make back
Exactly.
that money.
Yeah,
instead of
this is exactly
going
the
and
same
working.
point of view another student pointed out. Like, your aim to come to Chalmers is to study.
Yeah,
Study and
exactly.
get a good CGPA so that you can get a full-time job rather than a part-time job.
Exactly.
And
Right?
also, if you really want to learn while working, while studying, then I would suggest you to ask your professors to give you a 20% or 10% work this per week.
Right.
Which
But
will
does
help.
that pay you?
No, that doesn't pay you, but
Right.
you learn a lot because they actually I had a friend who actually contacted his professor today about this work, and they actually helped him get hands-on experience with all the instruments going on in the lab.
Right. So I mean,
I would suggest that over looking for a part-time job in a
which
restaurant. or
with,
something.
with an economical incentive.
Exactly.
You will have no social life at all if you go work part time. Like I have a few
Right.
friends who do work and they're never free. They're in school and then once they're done with school, they go back and they work. So, and there's so much happening which you'd rather. It's fun if you actually take part. In all
Right,
of
and
these.
it comes back to that networking aspect
Exactly.
because if you don't go to some of these activities, you miss out on the networking. Right. So it's not always about partying, as in like partying, but it's partying actually to the aspect of
Build your
networking,
network.
to find people that are really important, that are going to be important in your life. Right, and then I've got 1 minute left with this one question: how accessible are professors at Chalmers? Is there an open door policy?
Very.
Totally.
You can just
Mail
mail
it.
them
Yeah.
during the work week and they will reply to you within an hour or something. They even will tell you that I am free this time, you can just come and meet me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to play football with my thesis professor this weekend. So
There you go.
I'm going to-
I don't think it gets much more open door policy than that. You get to play football with your thesis professor.
Best part, I think, is calling him by name, which is
Yeah.
totally
Oh,
weird for me.
yeah.
Right.
I come from a place where we address either
Everybody
as
by
sir,
sir,
and
Yeah.
it is a friendly conversation. It's never been
Hierarchy.
hierarchy. So
Right.
that's
That's a really good point to note, that there is no prestige, there is no pride, there is only a matter of learning. You ask a question, I answer it. I ask a question, you answer it. Thank you very much, you guys. I would like to say that you've done a really wonderful job. Thank you for coming here, sharing your piece with all of those 104, 6, 5, I don't know, it keeps changing participants over there. I will now let you go, and I will sit down and complete the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys next year. All the best.
Yeah, exactly. See you next year, right? Yeah, perfect. So that brings us to the end of this webinar. I would like to bring to your notice that you can keep in touch with us. There were definitely questions that did not get answered. So please send your questions to nextstop@chalmers.se. But I would like to inform you that this is just one of 10 webinars we have conducted today, which means there are going to be questions from all around the world pouring into our mailboxes, which means it will take us some time. We are only 4 people working with this. It will take us some time to get to your questions. We will get to your questions and we will answer them, but you have to have some patience with us. Meanwhile, I would also like to introduce you to our Facebook groups /NextStop India, for Indians, of course, and for the Pakistanis. Since we don't have such a big network within Pakistan at the moment, you still join Next Stop Chalmers Global. You will also like to know that we have recorded this webinar, so we will be uploading this webinar to YouTube. Go subscribe to our channel and you will be able to see this video again. You will be able to see this webinar again, go through everybody's answers and go through the other webinars, because the same questions or similar questions have been asked by other students, and other students from other countries have given different answers to those as well. So go watch those other videos as well. All right. Thank you very much. That brings me to the end of my webinar of this webinar, and that was Chalmers University of Technology with the mission for a sustainable future, and my mission for you for your future. Thank you.